But today, Marcus Wendt from Field.io, longtime fan of their work. I just absolutely think they do beautiful, beautiful things. I will take up no more space and hand it over to Marcus to take it away. So,
Well,
Marcus,
thank
it's all
you.
yours.
Okay, let's hope this presenter thing works. How's that? Yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Josh, and Joyce, for all the best organization. Today's talk almost didn't happen because well, as you heard, I'm currently in Iceland with my friend Nikita and my dad, and we were exploring the highlands here. And this morning, what started as a sort of perfect Iceland day, a little bit of light rain, no problem. 2 hours later became, and 15 river crossings later, became a full Arctic storm. So that's me on the right, battling with hypothermia and thinking about how do I explain being late to this webinar. And my friend decided to fix his bike in the middle of that, which is supposed to be a street road here in Iceland. But yeah, thankfully, my dad picked us up and got us back just in time. And it got me thinking while I was drying up in the car, actually quite fitting. There's a lot of parallels how we've been navigating field, exploring the unknowns of the creative industry and adapting to when the conditions changed. We started with a very different idea of an artistic creative practice as a studio, ended up with something different, but still somehow true to the spirit. So yeah, today I'm gonna talk a little bit about the journey and maybe some of our latest thinking. And what are we gonna talk about? Oh, it's AI. I'm sorry, but everyone needs to find their um, position, I guess, and it's kind of fundamentally changing pretty much everyone who works in a sort of digital related field. And what got me really thinking as someone who aspired to become an artist for 20, 30 years and put enormous amounts of time into this practice is, damn it, now everything is so easy. And yeah, so it triggers a lot of thought. And basically, I personally almost stopped creating because of that. Because every day we produce more images than in all of human history, so before 1980. It's just immense. So it's an ocean of output. And then I feel like I was one of the first to pick up this sentiment, but this has been shared, and I think this I've seen it many, many times. It's resonated across all those channels. Um, the in this ocean of output, the ability to discern what matters, what resonates, has never been more valuable. I fully agree with that. Because anyone can generate content now. We have this kind of iPhone moment of digital art or digital content, but not everyone can generate meaning. So the question is not whether machines can think, it's whether humans can still feel what's even worth thinking about. And for brand, I think it is an opportunity to become tastemakers of the future and set a tone what's to come. And I guess the question that keeps me up as a creative, as a business owner, is okay, where is this value going? What's still going to be valuable now and in the future? And how does it even change our vision of beauty and aesthetics? And where does creativity go? Um, so part of the result of all this thinking was a sort of a new positioning that field aspires to be the creative intelligent practice now. We're not a studio anymore. We're actually going to a decent size. I'll tell you more in a minute. But we're basically going all in on intelligence. And I'm going to dive into a bit more So first, some background. So we are a global design and innovation studio with offices in London and Berlin, but many creative satellites across Europe. And as of 2 weeks ago, starting to put some feet down in the US. So East Coast to start with. So for the last 16 years, we worked with some of the world's most forward-thinking brands. For example, recently did interactive experiences for Ferrari and IBM, or visual identities for IBM's quantum supercomputers. Worked on an extensive brand system for Meta and all those like sub companies, sub brands, Instagram and Quest and so on. And then even turned that into sort of develop new forms of AI automation tools, and kind of proud to say our work is seen by billions today. So any of these apps have been shaped by our team. So at Field, we exist where intelligence meets imagination, and we create experiences that don't just work, they wonder, spaces that learn, brands that evolve, and technology that feels alive. And yeah, let's talk about our goals. So I think too often we see innovations because we can, and don't talk about why should we. So let's start from there. So for me, it starts with the promise of digital. So all of these attributes, personalized, differentiated, experiential. We've seen all these words, data-driven, experiential. We've seen all of that flying around, and that was the promise that the digital kind of brought to the creative world. And but in reality, we have technically complex projects and fragmented integrations, excessive timelines and budgets. And like, if you've been working in this field for a while, you realize that to do all these ambitious things that we think we can make, we can dream up, we can imagine all of this great creative work, but we just can't pull it off because in reality, the time, the budgets, it's not quite there, and it gets harder and harder to push that through and convince clients to do it. So, and I think that's where the opportunity is in using AI to break through these barriers and enable new forms of creativity and reactivity that were simply impossible before. But actually, if you go one step further back, then basically since the invention of the Gutenberg press, creative communication has always been about duplicating, multiplying a single message times many instances and then pushing it out into the world. Broadcast thinking, basically. And I think what's really exciting about AI is that we can now build systems that scale intimacy and experiences that speak directly to individuals by really understanding your audience and really going deep into how do they feel, what is their background, their journey, and essentially creating one-to-one connections. That's an ability we've never had before. It's a really exciting time. We've seen some glimpses of that. So here's a project we did a while ago with Google, wondering, so can we measure the impact of good design on our well-being? And essentially it was a public experiment by Google during Milan Design Week, connecting neurology and aesthetics. We designed an exhibition, a number of different spaces in collaboration with different interior designers and beautiful furniture makers, and had this biometric wristband that recorded the experience of visitors passing through the space. And you had a colorful, vibrant room, a calm room, a less saturated room, and different textures and so on. And we basically tracked their biometrics and dwell time across the exhibition. And as you leave the exhibition, your sensor gets spread out and you get this custom data visualization artwork print takeaway that basically records your journey. And it turned out that actually visitors really responded quite differently in unique ways. And it really got them thinking about, okay, what type of interior they respond to the most, what type of experience they want. And so this, to me, is a really good example of a human at the center personal experience. And hope we get to make more of these. So let's define creative intelligence. So for me, it's not about replacing human creativity with machines. It's about amplifying our ability to understand, imagine, and create. And actually, if you do a bit of reading, there is no one definition of intelligence. There's many different forms of intelligences. I think scientifically, the term is a little bit vague. What even counts intelligent, what's not. And actually lumping everything under AI is like calling anything done on a computer digital. It doesn't really help us at all. So I think the real question is, what specific type of intelligence do you need to create experiences and then captivate your audience today? And let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Maybe the thing we as a studio, we're incredibly excited by is spatial intelligence, or because the space around us is becoming the next computing platform. And we're seeing the emergence of a new paradigm of architecture. It's more minimal, more luxury, and more ambient than it was before. And it all starts with seeing and understanding physical space. So imagine AI that can read the room, understanding physical space, visitor flow, and dwell times. AI that can read human behavior and context in real time. So how do our physical interactions, what we see, hear, and touch, shape how we respond? And I think that's where it gets really exciting and a fundamental shift. We're going to see digital experiences breaking free from flat screens into physical space, moving far beyond just static messages, to become searchable, intuitive, and responsive to real human needs. And it means we're going to start seeing physical environments becoming as intelligent as digital interfaces. So for me, the concept is space as interface. And everything's connected by AI, which truly understands what people actually need and when they need it. And that I would define as spatial intelligence, which in itself is a field pretty vast and worth exploring. But there's a number of recent technological breakthroughs that make it possible, that essentially open up a whole new area of exploration right now. A little glimpse from the past, how we saw maybe an earlier version of this ad work. One of our projects for a company called On Running. We helped them with their first flagship store in New York City, and they needed essentially a sort of captivating display, but also a sort of product trial. And essentially what we did is we developed a camera system that can track runners as they use the shoes in the shop, and then translate that motion into a sort of engaging visual, but also give product recommendations and data visualizations that help you find your perfect fit. And it's a kind of interplay of functionality and aesthetics that I think we're going to see more and more of. And then the second type of intelligence that we need is artistic intelligence. So systems that don't just generate content, but maybe develop taste, style, and creative judgment. It's not about replacing that human creativity, but essentially amplifying what we can do already. And first, it's going beyond just generation, but actually into translation. So everyone talks about AI generating images from prompts, but we're actually excited by AI that can translate meaning. So from mediums, so from boring raw data forms into visual narratives and engaging storytelling, things that speak to us as humans, and making this the invisible beautifully visible. And to do that, we need co-creative systems. So we move beyond static outputs to building creative ecosystems. As a studio, everything we do is kind of a system now. It's an evolving organic matter that is shaped by a collective of different types of skills and also in-house as well as on the client side. So brands provide the vision, audience contribute behavior and feedback, and creative collaborators design the inputs and creative ingredients. AI becomes the connective tissue, amplifying each voice, translating between creative languages, and ensuring evolution while preserving identity. And I think in the end, this enables us to generate entire storylines that people can't step inside. So these are some sort of snapshots from an exhibition we're currently producing in America. Storytelling in an interactive and highly photographic format that just wasn't possible before. Photoreal 3D environments that respond to presence, narratives that branch based on behavior, experiences that feel both crafted and spontaneous. And I think that changes our task as creatives from producing the perfect image and to finding the story and creating environments that make people actually stop, feel, and remember. One example we did recently is actually not fully out yet, but we've just finished. I thought, why not put it in this presentation? We worked with a company in Abu Dhabi called IMI. It's a corporation of CNN and Sky News Arabia. And we designed an interconnected, artful brand experience for their new headquarters, kind of by AI and driven by news data. So what it does, it allows visitors to navigate the news feeds with gesture control, surfacing curated news narratives, and kind of being able to find connections in real time. Is this video playing? This might not be the right video, but you'll see it in a minute. But then we basically link it from there to the locations where all these news come from, and we're creating essentially news painted earthscapes that fill the interior of this space, presenting viewer with an evolving collection of ambient area landscapes from data where the news events are essentially correspond to their or determine various biomes. So this is a preview of the space. It was just opened. You need to go and shoot the real video. But essentially, it's this combination of data, art, and storytelling, where everything's kind of woven together and sort of meaningfully connected between using AI. Just going to let this play for a little bit. So that's the entrance side. And if you go around the back, there's a sort of control room where you can interact with the globe, and it shows you where everything comes from, what's currently the hottest topic, the most trending news across the globe. And yeah, underneath all of that is a sort of real-time sort of segmentation of news streams, and it's delicate subjects that you can't easily just throw on a big screen. So you need to find creative ways to work around the subject matter. But here it's more about giving visitors essentially that overview effect, the talking about how IMI is covering a large percentage of the globe with their broadcasting. Yeah, from here we move to operational intelligence. Something that is maybe a little bit overlooked and not the kind of most attractive topic when you're a creative, because as a creative, you just want to create. But understanding that everything we do sits in a context and needs to work for clients and for the companies and brands that we work for, and that's actually the unlock to enable a lot of creative projects is incredibly important. So how can we deliver creative excellence at scale? How do you, because a lot of creative work often drowns in operational complexity. We have multiple formats, different platforms, various stakeholders, technical constraints, and I basically see operational intelligence as the one that handles this orchestration and ensuring that creative vision survives the journey from concept to experience. How we do that is we build systems that automatically format content across displays, optimize performance across devices, manage version control, and coordinate complex installations. So a lot of our work always comes with a huge sort of back-end systematic component that basically allows us to scale. And I think what we found is when that's established, then this really enables us to enable creative ambition and making projects that are previously impossible possible. One example for that is our work with Nike. Obviously, very large company. They operate 8,000 stores globally, and 300 of them are flagship level stores. So we built a digital system that essentially connects all these flagship level stores into one, basically into one generative design system. Where starting on the left, we see the original kind of Nike design language brought to life in this kind of new generative format, and then how it can adapt to various different campaigns. The whole system is kind of concepted in a modular, adaptive way, so a little bit like Lego blocks for experienced designers. So whenever they have a new store and they're redesigning it, they can choose from these different components and plug them together in different ways. And it comes with a backend system which essentially enables them to create new virtual shops and lots of virtual displays, essentially bringing new locations online overnight without any of our input, and giving their team the ability to curate, change, update content consistently and all the time on the fly. And we have a little video here. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, this is live now, and it's been an evolving system for the last 5 years. It has many different modes and storytelling elements, from just global campaigns to brand messaging to community events. So we get signals from the entire Nike running community. For example, when there's a big event going on in London Marathon or in New York or wherever, we see all these like little dots on the map running around. And the beauty of it is, it's basically just an app. It's an app for large retail spaces. So here, we need to do some proper documentation for it. This essentially is the redesign we did for the Paris Olympics, which was essentially deployed to around 100 stores overnight in just a matter of few hours. And suddenly everything looks completely new, has a new, basically brand rollout with the push of a button. And yeah, we talk a lot about it's the connection between spatial intelligence, operational intelligence, and this kind of creative intelligence. And the three really need to be in harmony together. And there's a lot of learnings in these systems projects, which is why we're now building our first product. Working title, Experience OS, essentially enables any brand, museum, airport, basically large public spaces to tap into these kind of intelligences, spaces that sense, systems that surprise, and technology that disappears. What is it? It's our first AI native OS for physical spaces. So behind the scenes, we've been working pretty hard on essentially platforms that can understand our audience in real time, what's going on in stores, in spaces, how does our audience react to certain brand messaging, and how do these spaces perform. Then we're integrating a sort of creative video playing. Yes. Yeah, we're integrating a sort of creative tooling layer, which enables the staff and people who, the brands who operate these spaces, to generate new content all the time, keep it fresh without needing a design degree, and just being able to do it ad hoc whenever there's a big event. And then we're essentially also integrating the ability to orchestrate complex experiences across multiple touch points and locations. And yeah, together that basically becomes a foundation. The idea is to eventually release it to the creative community as a platform that other studios can also leverage and build upon their own ideas and developments. And to me, this leads to a bigger vision where we're not just building smarter stores, we're reimagining how brands connect with people when every surface can think, feel, and respond. We'll have a beautiful showcase for this coming up. Next project will launch in September 25 in New York City. I'm very excited about that because we think the future is spatial. Thank you very much.
All right, Marcus, I love it. This is fantastic. All right, so I think y'all know the drill. If you have questions, oh, Marcus, do you want to stop sharing for a sec? We'll go.
Sure.
We'll go into face view. All right. If you have any questions, do the little hand raised emoji thing, or just raise your hand, and we'll call on you. If I have a quick minute to slip one in before anybody, I'm just like super curious. So, Marcus, what's your studio look like? Like I'm seeing like beautiful topography. I'm seeing like pretty complicated, back end systems. Like what's your team look like right now? Like, does it look different on what's a project team look like these days?
Yeah, interesting. When I brought this story about Iceland and change, the team changed dramatically. In 2019, we were, let's say, 10 Houdini artist motion designers
Yeah.
with a bit of a code background. In 2025, we're now 43. Probably half of them are sort of technical creative, and then the other half is creative technical. So we have a lot of hybrids in the team. Pretty much, we have designers who are decent coders and decent coders who are pretty good designers, and vice versa. The team, yeah, it's a big mix, but
So you don't have anybody who's like a brand designer that doesn't know anything about code.
no. I mean, people get exposed to the whole thing very
Yeah.
quickly. Obviously, they have everyone has like specialties, but everyone's required to sort of understand the full stack more or less. And I made it basically mandatory. Everyone needs to get onto this AI thing. Can't have You need to have need to know Photoshop. You need to know what Midjourney is. It's it's that basic. There are some fundamentals.
Fantastic. Well, I've kind of compelled all my Blue Cadet people to be on here so they can hear that. Jack, you have a question. Oh, you're muted still. You're still muted. You're muted.
Not yet. Can't
There
hear
we
you.
go.
There
Sorry,
we go.
guys. Hello, I'm here. Hi, Marcus. Yeah, just wanted to say before I ask my question, absolutely love everything about what you guys do. I mean, I've followed you for a while, and I I've actually had the privilege of seeing some of that stuff before, and I just have to say that you have just such a beautiful design language across everything you do. And one thing that really stands out to me that I wish was in more, kind of leading to my question, is you you kind of take these huge data sets and you break down businesses and you create systems around them. And I like that you said when you create these systems, it kind of simplifies how you create, and it makes it easier for you to be creative because you've already created the system, so you know what the layers are, right? You can put the creative things on top of these systems that make it beautiful. My real question is, I feel like you have the ability to kind of turn the mundane, the boring retail, and I mean, take the most boring thing in the world, like going to the dentist. Everyone hates the dentist, right? But like, I feel like you have the ability with a system like this to turn those spaces into really beautiful places that make it slightly easier to go to. And my question is, you showed some of the stuff that you did with On Running, and it looked like there was a lot of physical integration by, like, there was a part of the video was a guy touching some physical installment, right? But it was very it was static. And my question is, where do you see the kind of technology going where you can integrate it into motion that's phygital, right? Like, where do you actually think that that's going to be something that you can kind of experiment with? Because there's robotics that are happening right now, and obviously large, super expensive. But do you see it coming to like your world anytime soon?
Maybe I'm getting old, but the first thing I think of is cost. So I would love to, from a creative point of view, awesome. Totally, I would agree. I think in reality, my bet is, or our bet as a studio is on a more ambient, a more subtler integration. I think the era of these big prominent displays, I think, is slowly receding, and we actually want to embrace the physical as physical again, but find ways to make it intelligent in a bit more of a subtle way. Simply, not every shop can afford a multi-million-dollar LED wall, and not every place should be plastered with LED walls either. We need these places because we want physical interaction. So yeah, finding the right level, I think, is important.
All right, Martin, you have a question. Oh, wait, also, Marcus, there's been a lot of demand in the chat to go check out the New York City this store. So maybe we'll do a field trip later. We'll figure that out. We'll talk about that offline. Martin, you had a question.
Hi, Marcus. Super cool presentation, and excited about Experience OS, and can't wait to see House of Innovation. I'm based in New York working for Philips Auction House, and actually the Jack brought up a question about your response about moving away from multiple screens and more capturing the essence of the space. That was answered. But a simpler question, curiosity, if you want to engage more of your colleagues, coworkers within the organization with like dabbing into AI, um, how can you motivate people to get over that hurdle? Like from a designer's perspective, it's natural. You mess with pictures, video, but other departments, how do you bring them on the journey in a more playful way?
I mean, fundamentally, you need to give people time and space. That's just an organizational thing where some people have that particular drive, right? And they do it in their own time and because they find it exciting. Sometimes you just need to, that's what we see with the team, give them the time and space to actually explore. And maybe we pair people with, like say, people who are more experienced in one area than the other, and then do kind of little task groups around certain subjects. So it's as our studio, for me, it's a natural thing, but as the studio is growing, we also need to look at how do we move the entire organization forward. And yeah, I think that seems to be quite effective. Pick the ones that know and give them some time and space with the ones that need more exploration.
So Marcus, I'm
Thank
going to
you.
add one more to that, which is time, space, and a little bit of money. So well, actually at Blue Cadet, we have a $25 a month stipend for AI tools on top of like whatever the studio-wide AI tools are. So if like a designer wants to play with something, that's like not even like they just want to like play with 11 labs or whatever, or something that's like we give them a little bit of money so they're not pulling that out of pocket, and creating a little bit of expectation for that has actually been helpful as well. So, but yeah, time and space is like that's a big one for sure.
And gentle pressure.
I will also note that I will be hosting some workshops on AI in the fall. So if there's workshops that you want to see and things like that, which are like really geared, honestly, I push a lot of my own studio into those workshops so that they can get acclimated to those. If there's anything you guys want to see, give me a heads up. Ryan, you had a question.
So I was really struck by when you were asking the question at the beginning about what is valuable and thinking about the design process and then capping it off at the end with this tool that you're developing that designs space and does 3D space, for us. And so I was really thinking, I ask this question of pretty much everyone these days, is extrapolating. I know I'm asking people to extrapolate forward, but what do you think are the most valuable skill sets that the human designer is going to need to bring to this process as these tools get stronger and stronger?
Would guess it's essentially it's around storytelling, right? Understanding and curating, being able to understanding what connects, right? It's still a very, very subtle and delicate affair. I think that needs to be studied a bit more. Yeah, the tools itself, they become better and smarter, and you can't rely on your production skills alone. So there needs to be a methodology. Yeah, so when I look at, for example, what's not going away, that's kind of my thinking to this question. Okay, the production of content is kind of, the value of that is going away. Sure, but convincing your clients, you're like a complex or taking with board of a journey, that's not going to be easier. That's still a big thing to do. I think that's, oh, did I lose the signal?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Marcus, your signal got a little wonky. You can hear us okay?
Hello.
We can hear you. The video is a little janky right now. Oh, Marcus, can you hear us? Uh-oh. All right, this is what happens when you're in Iceland. There we go. You're back. All right. Okay. I think the signal's good. All right, Ryan, did that answer your question?
It did. It did.
Okay,
It's something that I'm
fantastic.
talking to the younger designers about a lot as well in terms of how they should be thinking about their development.
Okay. Guillermo had a question. How's your prototypical daily use of AI in your design process in your studio? Like,
I mean, there is no prototypical, but it's essentially it's integrated across the full stack. No presentation would be done without AI visualizations in the whole like content production process. But more and more, and I think that's where we try to sort of specialized as a studio. We've set up our own internal AI team that can develop models. So we just did a bunch of work with IBM based on advanced computer vision models, which enables us to do physical interactions like tracking ping pong, tracking football, tracking tennis, all of that with high speed, high accuracy, and turning that into experiences we can do because we're building field vision, our own sort of vision model underneath. So yeah, from just using the tools that are available to building models where it makes sense across the full stack.
All right. And just out of curiosity, I'm gonna just like, what are the specific tools? You said Midjourney. What are there any other ones that are like really exciting for you? Like you're doing Stable Diffusion? Like what kind of?
Huge. I mean, all of the image making tools. We literally have teams going. We have like an internal Notion board where we kind of rate them. What's the latest best video generation tool? Is it Krea or VO3 or is it this or that? We're trying to come to an answer. Ideally, as a studio, you want to solidify on a workflow and not have 50 million tools. I think our software subscriptions basically doubled, which is I'm not happy with, but I'm more excited about we're using it in the development as well, like Cursor. What is the other one? Lovable is awesome to create like app prototypes within a few hours.
Fastest company to $100 million ARR. Great, insane. That's an insane product.
Yeah. So that all of that stuff.
I love it. And are you personally diving into the tools a lot?
When I can, on a sort of prototype level.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I one of the things that came up in the chat was you're doing a lot of stuff in spatial. How are you thinking about VR or AR? Are those things very interesting to you, or what are you leaning towards these days?
Less so, to be honest. I mean, I had a natural affinity for it, but ultimately, I think it disconnects you from the physical world, and I don't want that. So I'm more a fan of finding new ways to, creating connecting experiences that connect, that you can enjoy and share together. Obviously, if a new platform comes up that people really want to engage with, we would investigate it. But at the moment, I'm more interested in making physical spaces smarter than this kind of disconnected VR that we've seen before.
I love it. Matt Kelly has a question.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm curious when you start this new kind of like creative relationship with a new brand or like a new space, what sort of like initial questions do you have for like the team that provides that space or is looking for a solution so that you can kind of get like a better initial understanding of what they're looking for from your team?
I mean, these client relationships come in all shapes and sizes. I think what we tend to do, coming from an artistic background where you're navigating the unknown a lot, is we're doing so much consulting and strategy before the project even begins. So there's a lot of what do you actually need, why do you need it, how does it support your communication, and all of that. So we really dive deep into the client specifics to a degree where with the clients that we end up working longer with, we're a co-integrated part of their team, essentially.
Gotcha.
Pretty much understanding what's their product pipeline, what do they want to talk about, what's their roadmap. And I think you really need that as a designer. You should have the deepest level of understanding possible.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, I have a question that's like, you said something that I kind of want to pick up on, which is that you said you wanted to be an artist. Okay. And so like, I would love to, or back, like, how did you come to this work, in the first place? I'm very curious about that because like I actually did come from like drawing and stuff and like figuring out the affordances of a pen, which and there are many, and maybe it's very different than the affordances of AI or a design brief. So I'm just curious, like one, how did you first start out on this journey, and then like how did you move? How do you think about art, design, and then now this other, like how is AI seems to be another almost like paradigm shift.
Mm, my God.
I know that's pretty, yeah, I'm getting a little meta with it.
Yeah, yeah. I think masters. I'm like 1/3 a kid who grew up in a farm in East Germany. Another third is skateboarding culture, music videos and MTV, all of that. Everything was in motion and energetic, completely different to what's before. And the other third is kind of digital net art experiments underground. So I never touched a pen. I'm not great at drawing. Definitely, to me, the big unlock actually was after 3, 4 years in art school, accepting that this type of messing around with a computer is my way of doing stuff. I didn't have to fit into the expected way of being an artist.
And then I guess, yeah, and then at some point, I guess you transitioned to running a business or running an agency. How was that?
Uh, yeah, another interesting thing is people tend to stereotype it and say, are you the creative or the manager?
Right.
And 2 years ago, I took over the business because my partner retired, and I became the manager suddenly. Something I didn't never wanted to be.
Yeah.
But I found actually now in running the organization, that's a very creative task or creative thing, and actually shaping ideas, shaping new projects, and getting them on the way. And maybe I think my team finds it more enjoyable because I just let them be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Jeannie, you have a question.
Hi, Josh. Thank you for organizing these, and I'm always excited when I can make one. And I'm a fan of Marcus and Field.io, their whole team. I saw them at the AI presentation at IBM's like NYC by Design. I was blown away. So because I teach, and Josh actually was generous enough to be a guest speaker at one of my courses a couple of years ago, and it's more in the communication design field. What, you know, I said there's going to be no graphic designers by 2030. I think I said that at when I was on a panel in 2017. So how do you see it shifting? I know somebody asked a similar question, but is the innovation in design happening in the design systems itself? The app that you showed, it was all design systems, right? So you still need a visual and an aesthetic sensibility, which the production part and the rollout is obviously maybe going away or doesn't need that much of a heavy lift. So where's the I just think of like, where does the education go?
Good question. That's a really good question. But I find what we're not learning so much about or at least I didn't in education, is that sort of systematic level thinking, kind of foundational principles on how do you architect things. I think it's easy to focus on the craft, and you need to have it. I'm a fan essentially of the T model, going very deep on a specific skill or craft, and then broadening it as wide as you can. And weirdly, I would agree with you. Graphic design is almost becoming extinct in one way, but then it's the skill that you always need, and we never have enough of on the other end. Like finding designers that really get systems is so hard. So yeah, I think it's more a matter of the nature of the job is changing. Like what we call design is changing. That's why it's so exciting.
All right. I think we might have room for one more question. So Beth had a question. Beth, do you want to ask yourself or you want me to ask for you? And then Marcus, then I'll have you do a like sign off. All right, I'll ask.
Yeah,
Um,
either way is
oh,
fine.
wait, Beth, you're there. Go ask.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
fine. Yeah, sorry. So I was just wondering about measurement. You were talking about measuring, biometric, and maybe there's other data as well on that Milan project. So have you done measurements in other spaces as well? And what kinds of things are you measuring specifically? And is it all biometric, or are there other things as well? And if biometric, what kinds are you measuring? And who do you need to come in to help you interpret what the numbers mean? If heart rate goes up, who are you using to tell you, okay, if heart rate goes up, that means what about the physical space?
That's a very good question. So the space that we're opening in September will be a platform to run 300 experiments across the next 5 years. So I can't tell you which one of these will be the definitive answer, but there will be a lot of them. We're going to use different things from biometric sensors, similar to the ones that you've seen in Milan, essentially like an Apple Watch measures heart rate, skin temperature, and so on. And then I think for Milan, we did it artistically, intuitively, linking data in a way that we thought seemed significant. But I think I would admit that the science was a bit soft on that side. It did make sense in the end. Like people found it correlates it. They found meaning in it, but it wasn't backed by anything. Going forward, we're gonna have from these like brain cap scan sensor caps, testing that with perfume, for example. How do people respond to different smells and sensorial input, to using AI to look at mimic and gesture, body language, and so on. So how does that change over time? We're going to find out which are the most significant ones. Ideally, we don't want any sensors at all. We don't want any disturbance, right? It should be as seamless and as natural as possible.
All right, Marcus.
Thank you.
This has been fantastic. All right. So before we end today, is there anything that you sort of like want to sign off with, this community, like any ways they can support you, any things that you kind of want them to leave with?
Gosh, Josh. Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Really great. I should tune in more to learn about all the fantastic people that you know. Yeah, I think always happy to hear from people who are excited about our work, designers, young students interested in joining the studio. We're currently looking for at least 8 different positions, so please have a look and apply. Also very happy to make new connections in the States. We are there more and more, so please reach out. Find me on LinkedIn or via our website.
All right. Well, I saw Joyce light up because we have a Future Spaces job board. We'll add them all on there. Spread the word. But Marcus, thank you so much. Thank you for making time on your vacation to Iceland. Good luck. Be safe. It seems like an amazing, treacherous experience over there. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Really excited for next week's. Hope you can make it. Marcus, thanks again. This is really fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you.